John in South Charleston, Ohio. Thanks for your question, John. He says, I try to practice an hour a day. Excellent. Going on with the question. How much of that time should I devote to learning a new tune, and how much to reviewing what I already know? So this is a really good question, and I'm going to give a bit of a wishy-washy answer. So there's no one practice routine that's going to work for everybody all the time. And I like to kind of design different routines to help with different things. But it just depends on who you are and what you're doing and what your goal is. But what I'm going to do is offer a good basic routine for John, who's practicing an hour a day, and then suggest a few other ideas. So one is the thing I just came up with this morning while looking at some of the questions and looking at this one was the 20-20-20 practice for John. So basically 20 minutes for technique, 20 minutes for reviewing tunes you already know, easy tunes, and 20 minutes to work on some new tune. Again, this is not some like hard and fast thing. It's just to add a little structure. And people's minds are different. Some people may really benefit from doing being very precise with like, I'm going to just set a timer and practice technique for 20 minutes. By technique, I mean whatever you're working on, the D major scale, string crossing, or whatever, some bowing thing, and then review. So part of the review process, so if we're going to do 20 minutes for review, part of the review process could be just sort of warming up with easy tunes. So just think of like the easiest tunes you know, and maybe just use those as a simple warm-up, like Oh Susanna. Whatever it is, just something to get your hands moving, and always coordinate that with the scale. So whatever you do, like you could kind of make big chunks. You could do a 20-minute chunk of technique, 20-minute chunk of review, 20-minute chunk for the new tune. But what I think is useful is a learning principle called interleaving, in which you say you're working on some really difficult new thing, like the Orange Blossom Special. So that's really hard, say. Or you're working on vibrato, or you're working, whatever it is that's challenging for you. It may even be just playing third finger. So what you would do is you would warm up, you would work on that difficult thing, and then you would let it go for a little while, and you'd go back you'd do something different. So if vibrato was or let's stick with the Orange Blossom Special example, you can leave that behind and just go work on some scales, like maybe the A major scale. 2 octaves. And then after doing that for a little while, return to that really difficult thing, the Orange Blossom Special in this case. And in that way, you're interleaving that difficult thing. And that means that it's gonna make for more productive practice time. When you return to that, it'll be a little easier, most likely. Your brain will have time to kind of process what it learned first time it did it. So this is basically just a long-winded way of saying that it's not always optimal to just do a huge chunk of your technique, huge chunk of review, huge chunk new tune. You may want to spread it out a bit, but then roughly you could think about splitting it in thirds. So maybe for the first 15 minutes, you do 5 minutes of technique, 5 minutes of review, 5 minutes new tune. Then you take a little break, stretch. This is key, actually stand up if you've been sitting down or vice versa. I like to do forward bends, and then 1 minute break is a really good part of a routine. So anyhow, so that's a super general routine, 20-20-20, and I'm going to think about it some more. Just came up with the idea, but basically split any practice section into thirds. You would spend a third of your time on technique, 30 of your time on review, and then on something new. And then you could do those little chunks of practice multiple times in a session. 15 minutes. 15 minutes is nice because it's easy to divide by 3. 30 minutes. Then you could do 10, 10, and 10. Take a little break. Another 30-minute. Does that make sense? All right. So, and then just two more notes on kind of coming up with a cool routine that works for you. So, another idea, if you're practicing an hour a day, you're working on new stuff, maybe at the end of the week, instead of doing something new, just spend that one whole practice session doing a review routine. Go back to older things and really just strengthen things you already know. You could do, and again, some people might prefer to do this once a month. Some people once a week. Just spend a day not doing the most challenging thing, just going over stuff you haven't done in a while that you want to get back up and running. And then the more you play, the more stuff you will have. You'll kind of have to organize even that. You may even have to, say you've been playing a year and you know 50 tunes. It'll probably be difficult to do all 50 in one practice session. So you might have to just organize, well, I'm going to do all the tunes with double stops, or I'm going to do all the tunes in D Dorian scale, whatever. You'll just have to, the more stuff you know, the more you'll have to organize how you review. Okay, so when I do the notes for this lesson, I will include links to some practice routines I've already designed, and I might make a new one for this, just thirds. I'm just thinking, it's funny how you learn things as you go. So I'm thinking that I originally was thinking 20, 20, 20. Now I'm thinking it's just thirds. So, okay, so stay tuned for that. Cool.
Go to fiddlehead.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the videography. Excellent. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.